So welcome to the first meetup after several years. Actually, this used to be a regular thing. I used to do these weekly meetups back a couple of years ago, but then I moved on to other things and I did not have enough time. So what we want to discuss is a roadmap as to how to become a professional robotic software engineer in 6 months. And previously, the roadmap that I used to share was 1 year long, but over the years, I've optimized it in a way that it is actually possible to become a robotic software engineer in 6 months. And there are some people also in the Discord server who are enrolled in the course, so they are aware of the roadmap and the system that I'm talking about. So, what is it that we are doing here right now, and why have I decided to start these again? One quick disclaimer is uh, my intention is to do it once a month, but I'm not sure if I could do it consistently. So I would really encourage you to be fully focused on this session because the value that you would be getting in this session is not something that you would get easily, right? There's a lot of resources. You can get crash courses on Python, C++, etc. But how to actually learn the right set of skills and build the right set of projects that would get you a job in the robotics industry in an actual company is not being talked about at all. So this is something that is very rare information, and I would really encourage you to pause any other activity that you're doing right now. If you have other tabs open, I would really say close all these tabs and really focus on this thing for the next 1 to 1.5 hours. So, and another thing is, if you can, I would suggest that you guys keep your microphones on mute. Shrikant, I'm going to mute you because there's some noise on your end. We will try to keep this session very interactive. So if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt and ask and so on. But ideally, I would be finishing the presentation all in one go, and then we'll have a short Q&A session. So let's talk about your current stage right now. So another thing about interaction is that I'll ask you to basically write things on chat room so that you're actually committed and that you're actually attentive. And I'll ask you questions and so on. So then you can unmute yourself and answer it. So this is really important that you actually participate in the process. So first of all, coming to the problem, right? This is why you guys are here is because in robotics, you know that there's a lot of information out there already, right? So this is even back a few years ago when I started making the videos and started posting on LinkedIn. The main problem has always been that there's an abundance of resources online, which is a good thing, but which is also a disadvantage because it's super duper confusing to decide first whether you should be learning ROS, ROS 2, which version of ROS 2, Gazebo, OpenCV, PyTorch, TensorFlow. Now there's even more tools that are there, right? The whole NVIDIA stack. There's Isaac Sim, Cosmos, there's vision language action models. Reinforcement learning has entered essentially robotics industry, and there are reinforcement learning engineer roles in the companies. This is something that is happening for the first time. So this already started a couple of years ago. Prior to that, reinforcement learning was something that was not really good enough to be used for real world robotics, and hence it was only part of research, narrow research domain. And then, of course, the age-old topics of control, model predictive control, PID control, deep learning, machine learning, kinematics, and dynamics. So there is just a lot of stuff going on, and it will only get more. It would only increase. There's only more and more progress that would happen. So this is exactly the reason why I want to start with these meetups so that I can give you the value. So even if you cannot afford to enroll in my programs, by the way, I'll talk about that later a bit. You still get a lot of value and you still take the first step. And that is something you could do also as part of the YouTube videos that I've uploaded. But if you are committed enough to join this Discord call, and I see that there's around 15, 20 of you guys. So at least you guys should be really serious. And by the end of it, the expectation is that you should actually commit to taking the first step. So this is the main thing. Now,
అది ఫోన్ చేస్తుండొచ్చుగా అయింది తెలుగు తెచ్చుకోండి.
So one question now to you before we proceed is how many of you can relate to this problem, first of all? So write in the chat or just mention, yeah, I can relate to it. I think it's better to just write in the chat room. Do you face this problem, or do you think that no, it's not that much of a big deal? There are these resources, and I can get a Udemy course, or I can watch a YouTube tutorial and learn through it. So, how many of you believe that it is getting even more confusing in 2025 and 2026? The last couple of years, it has gotten more confusing to really get into the robotics industry, get a job in the robotics industry. So, how many?
So
Yeah,
sorry for the interference. So, where am I supposed to exactly send the message?
you can write it in the chat room. So, this is a chat room just above the webinar room, and just mention, yeah, I face this, or maybe just mention, yes, I have this issue that I face. Actually, let's use these emojis because I want to see feedback, right? So Discord, it's been a while since I used it. I think you can send reactions as well, right? So just give a thumbs up if you have that problem as well.
And then can you mute for a while because I can't really listen to. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Are you guys able to access the emojis here on Discord?
Not really. I can't find the
Okay.
option.
Okay. Um, No worries, no worries. No, how can I get? Okay, somebody is yeah, okay, there's this thumbs up on the top. Yes, you guys have some emojis.
Yes,
So
yes. If you send message, I can send. Thank you, case pledged.
yeah. Okay, yeah, there are some reactions here and there just to test. Yeah, thanks for the support, guys. Okay, so moving to the next step, basically, why are we doing it now? And I've touched on this a little bit. So robotics is changing and it is evolving right now, and it is getting even more overwhelming to catch up with all the new advancements, right? And right now we are at a moment which we can refer to as the chat GPT moment for robotics. So the companies are investing heavily on making a large foundation models for robotics, and a lot of the misconception is that this means that the traditional way of learning robotics is essentially gone, is what a lot of people think, but this is not generally the case. The only thing that is happening is that you have another niche that is coming up in robotics, another domain that is coming up in robotics, and you have more set of skills that you would need to learn. And I'll talk about why the old stack of robotics actually is a good thing. So and it is the best time to start learning robotics. And since a lot of these advancements are going on, it is actually the right time for you to enter the field of robotics, because if you enter now, you would have a lot more opportunities in the future. You will be exposed to a lot of roles. So for those of us who are already in the robotics field, we see that there are more job opportunities now. So the best time to start learning robotics was several years ago, and the second best time is now, right? So that's why I want you to take this seminar very, very seriously. And one important thing is, since this is a free seminar and there are a lot of free videos out there, I post a lot on LinkedIn. What tends to happen is that something that you tend to get for free, you do not value that much, right? And this is just human nature. You cannot do anything about it. But what you can do is you can treat it as a paid event. You can imagine that, hey, you paid for it, and you give this seminar the attention that it deserves, that a paid event would deserve, so that you really take it seriously. What we tend to do is, if you do not invest your money, you do not really take it seriously, but you can actually say that, okay, I want to invest my time and energy, because you are investing your time right now, even if you're attending this 1 hour seminar, you are investing some time and energy. You could be doing something else as well. So really be fully focused on this, because this is rare knowledge and you will not find this information anywhere. And this thing, if you start implementing it, would change your life, because you would start learning robotics, and you would take the first step, and that is the step that would help you enter the field of robotics 6 months down the line. And it's based on my years of experience working at several robotics companies. Um, and I want you to stay till the end, because there's a whole process, and at the end, there's an activity that would help you to take the first action step to really get you started, right? And before proceeding, I want you guys to really type in the chat room. So this is the chat room that is just above the webinar room. And in the chat room, I want you to type the exact same thing. I would not bookmark this page and forget it. I'll actually follow the plan. So this is something that I want you to actually type. Don't just copy and paste. I mean, you cannot even copy and paste because you don't have the link. But actually type it. You can paraphrase it, write it in your own words. Type it so that you're actually committed to the process. So I'll look at the chat room. I see some people are starting to type. Yeah, swastik. Okay. So yeah, I'll let you guys type it. I'll give you a minute before I proceed forward. Any questions so far? Anything that you want to comment as to what your expectation should be?
Sorry, what did you ask us to put in the chat again?
So I want you to enter in the chat that I will not bookmark this page and just forget it, but I'll actually follow the plan. So this particular sentence is what I want you to write so that you are actually committed to the process.
So, Chandan, would you give me a minute because right now they're typing.
Hmm. Yeah.
I had watched that video of that mechanical to robotics, and to be very honest, I could not understand a lot of it because I have just entered into mechanical engineering. But in this seminar that we are following, it is primarily for robotic software engineer role, the preparation. So, do you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yes,
was
yes.
this your question?
Yes, yes, I am continuing because there's some disturbance in between.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
yes. So, in this seminar, do I need to be a dynamic position that both software and mechanical, or do I just need to follow whatever you said in that specific video back then?
Yeah, I'll address that, whether you need mechanical knowledge, whether you need hardware knowledge, and so on. The short answer is no, you can build projects in simulation. I'll get to that, yeah. So essentially, you do not need to have any mechanical background, because that is a specific niche, that is a specific domain, that is a different profile that we are targeting. So some of you have written, and somebody asks, can somebody send the resource link? I'll send it after the session. I'll send the link to this. Um, so I'm expecting that you guys are now committed to the process, and you guys have written it somewhere, that I'll not bookmark this page and forget it, but I'll actually follow the plan. Now I'll give a very short introduction as to where I stand and what my profile has been. So my name is Chandeep Singh, and I did my master's in robotic systems engineering from RWTH Aachen University in Germany. I started in 2018 and finished in 2021. And prior to that, I was working in mechanical design engineering. And during my master's, I already started working in robotics. First of all, a few part-time roles. I started working on drones at one of the companies. Then I got an internship at Agile Robots, where I worked on robot manipulator arms and deep learning pipelines for bin picking. And then I worked at IGMR for a bit, and I did a project on task planning. Then my thesis was on reinforcement learning for grasping deformable objects. Then after that, I worked almost 1 year as a computer vision engineer. And for 2 years after that, I worked in, again, deep reinforcement learning for robotic manipulation. And since the last couple of years, I've been working on manipulation and multiple topics, VLAs and simulation at Neural Robotics. So how many of you guys have been following me for the past several years and have seen my journey? And for how many of you guys you don't know me already? Just a quick show of hands. Again, if the emoji thing is figured out.
Since I have known you for like just 1 or 2 weeks, I would just what emoji should I send?
Um, Essentially on Discord, you could have a reaction. Maybe somebody who is a heavy Discord user could comment how to actually give a reaction because some of you guys did it. But in general, also feel free to unmute yourself and mention just quickly how many of you guys know me before for the
त
last.
घाँटीमा अड्क यार औषधि यार
Sorry?
इधर औषधि यार केही छ घाँटीमा गयो होइन जति पनि खाइ जान्न यार
Well, this is the language you have to understand right now. So could you speak in English? Okay. Yeah, let's hear from some of the guys I recognize from my course, right? So Rangel is here. Rangel, for how long have you been following me on LinkedIn, or how did you get to know about essentially my journey and so on?
डाँट छु त म चाहिँ त केही नहुने मान्छे यार उसले के भन्छ बस्तीले
Rangel, can you hear us? Yeah, not sure if he has microphone issues. Maybe let's hear from Mahir quickly.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah, could you share how long have you been following me on LinkedIn or YouTube or however many years you've been following my content and so on?
Yeah, I think it's been around 5 months maybe. And yeah, I mean, I've watched a lot of your videos on YouTube, seen some of your LinkedIn posts every once in a while. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. Good. Let's hear from who of you actually do not know me. So I think Swastik mentioned that he's been following me for a week or so. Who of you actually is not because that depends on how deep I would go into my journey here. Yeah, Martin.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, you wanted to share something, Martin?
No, I just joined.
Okay, you just joined. Okay. I'll proceed. So okay, so the next thing that I want to share, and this is touching on to the point that was just asked right now, is do you need to have mechanical background? Do you need to have electronics background for robotics? So what we are targeting is robotic software engineering, which is a specific profile within robotics. And essentially, what the misconception is that you absolutely must have hardware if you want to become a roboticist. Actually, in companies, you would be working on real robots even as a robotic software engineer. So it is actually quite valuable if you have that experience. But if you're starting out, I wouldn't really say that you waste time trying to get that exposure on an actual robotic system because this is something that you could just do in a simulator very easily. You do not need much uh, background as well. You can just start taking the first step, build your first basic project, and then keep on iterating. And after you have spent a few years, um, essentially you can say, okay, maybe I can get an intern, or maybe I can get a robotics kit and really make progress on that. But ideally, what you should aim for is really bridging that gap yourself and using simulation, and then applying for a company, whether it's internship or a full-time role, and there you'll get exposure to actual robotics hardware that industry uses. So this is much more powerful than using a toy robotics kit. But sure, go ahead and use that, and this would, you could also build a very solid project. But this is not something that should be holding you back, right? So this brings me to the next concept, that robotics has no gatekeepers, right? Gatekeepers means that there are some criteria holding you back, right? So if you want to learn to become a doctor, right, you need to be working with certain equipment, and you need to be involved in certain sorts of laboratories and so on. If you actually want to practice that, right? And if you're working in some other field, you would have some other requirements. Whereas for robotics, software engineering in particular, you do not have any gatekeepers. There are thousands of research papers online that are available. There are several thousands of GitHub repositories and projects that are available right now. There are a lot of open source libraries. It's a very open source based community. If you all you have is a laptop, and if you're committed to the process, you can actually just get um, started with robotics, and then you can keep on making progress. So don't be a perfectionist when it comes to starting your robotics learning journey. Just go ahead and take the first step, make a plan, and stick with it. And in this session, essentially what I'm doing is I'm trying to give you a step-by-step plan that you can follow after this session, and never really have to worry about uh, where to start, what are the things that are holding you back, and so on. So you need a system. Um, you need a system where you start from cultivating your mindset to setting up your system, to installing Ubuntu, learning Linux, learning all the basics of software development that are needed for robotic software engineering, because software engineering is at the core of robotic software development. Then learning the programming languages that are used in robotics, mastering the fundamentals of mathematics, just enough that allows you to actually learn the frameworks and libraries in robotics in different domains, such as OpenCV, TensorFlow, ROS2 control, move it, understand the algorithms of motion planning, controls, machine learning, and so on. And then you would start making different projects in different domains of robotics. Based on this reference experience that you get, you would ask yourself some tough questions to help you identify your niche within robotics. So this is the core idea, is that you need to do the exploration beforehand. And based on this exploration, you'll decide which domain of robotics you want to commit to. So you have to commit and make um, essentially a decision that you want to stick with that particular domain within robotics, right? And once you do that, it's just a matter of choosing more and more complex projects that allow you to build your portfolio of projects and apply for jobs, right? So so what I would be doing in this session is I'll give you roughly the roadmap, right? I'll give you roughly the roadmap, and if you follow the free resources that I'm sharing with you, and these are external resources from YouTube primarily, or other official documentation pages that I've linked in this page. If you just follow this, you would be able to start taking the first step, right? And of course, there are other hurdles that you would encounter along the way as well, which is why you need a community. And I was thinking about it, and I saw that there are actually a lot of people in this Discord community, and this Discord community is kind of dead because I never really prioritized it. And this is something that is up to you now. You have a community that is available to you. And I would encourage you after this session to connect with people who you want to build projects with, and leverage this community. I would not be supervising this Discord server, but you have this community available, and people still join. You can see that there are new introductions even today that have happened. and there are a lot of new joinees. So this community is still active, but it's up to you guys to really take the initiative to form accountability groups and really get the most out of this free Discord server and this free session that I'm providing. You need a community. One of the things that as engineers we tend to do is, hey, we can just do it ourselves. But in this day and age, we know there are a lot of distractions on the internet. There's just a lot of noise on social media, and you need some sort of mechanism that allows you to go to the right track. And one of the easiest mechanisms for you is to really be associated with like-minded people who are on the same journey, and so that you can push each other and really make progress, right? So I want to revive this community. This proverb you might have heard, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go further, you need to go together as a team. So teamwork is something that is also essential, because even in companies, you wouldn't be working in a cubicle, you would be working with a team. So you need to be able to associate and understand different people, and you need to learn how to communicate in different teams where people are working on different aspects of the project. So this is very important. Um, and now let's start with the pipeline. So this is the 6 month roadmap that I'm starting to provide. The first month is about building foundations, building the right mindset, and learning the programming skills, right? So week one is about building the right mindset. And in order to even start building your right mindset, you first have to identify what your core motivations for learning robotics are, right? And these days, it is easy to start from a wrong foundation. What I mean is that you say, okay, robotics is booming, is a lot of jobs that are coming up, so it makes sense to switch to robotics as a practical way that would allow me to earn more money and have more um, opportunities. And this is not a bad mindset to have, but this alone would not be enough for you to really continuously and persistently stay within robotics, right? Because it may not be just for you, right? And you can earn a lot more in other domains as well. If you work for, let's say, as an LLM engineer and you want to deploy it on a web platform, a lot of startups could probably pay you even more. And there are other domains where you could get paid even more. So if money is the only source, or money is the only reason why you want to pursue robotics, that is probably something that you would like to reconsider. So, what are the right reasons to, what is the right foundation to have when it comes to learning robotics? So, there's this video that I've linked. You can go ahead and watch that. But mainly, the idea is that you should spend some time thinking about what are the thinking about whether the process of programming robots, whether software development, whether building projects, whether these are the things that you actually find valuable, or whether you actually find interesting, and you can sustainably work on that for several years. Because once you switch into a field, then you realize, okay, this is not for me. Um, then you have to do the hard work of switching to a different domain again, and that is annoying. That takes a lot of time and energy, and you do not want to waste your time. So do some introspection and really identify what are your core reasons to pursuing robotics. Watch these videos and follow the activities that I've mentioned in this. Um, and there's another video where I've talked about yeah, so this video is about the wrong reasons, the reasons not to have to pursue robotics, and the right reasons to pursue robotics. And once you have the mindset after this particular step, you should have an insane level of clarity as to whether you want to do robotics or not, number one. And if you want to do it, why is it exactly that is so important to you? Because a lot of people, a lot of you guys might be already enrolled in master's programs. A lot of you guys might be having a full-time job. So it can be very tricky for you to really start learning robotics on the side, and it can be really um, really it can require you a lot of effort from your end. And if you're not really serious about learning robotics, you'd probably give up and you leave it, and then all this information that I'm sharing is useless. So that is why we start here, and we get an insane level of clarity, and we commit to the process before we start proceeding. And after that, if you're using Windows, you have to switch to Ubuntu, and you have to learn Linux. And this is something that would not take you too long. But you have to again be committed to the process, schedule times on your calendar where you are fully focused on learning Linux. You install Linux, Ubuntu first, you'll get familiar with the whole interface, learn the command line tools and everything that is needed. You install an IDE, Visual Studio Code is generally fine. You create a Conda environment, which is a virtual environment that you create. You can also use something like Python virtual environments. Um, then you go ahead and learn Git. So this is also a video that I've shared here. You can go ahead and just follow that video to get you started with Git. Git is also very simple to use. You just need to get familiar with it. And then you can go ahead and also spend some time learning Docker, right? So in a couple of weeks you would be learning these things, right? And this is up to you to really schedule the time and really do these things by yourself. You have the resources that are available to you in a arranged in a very systematic way. um, and once you do that, you would come to the more interesting part of actually learning to program. And this is at the core of robotics, right? So you start with learning Python first, and then you go ahead and learn C++. And it depends on how much time you're willing to spend. Ideally, I would say a couple of weeks is enough to just get you started with Python and C++, following some of these free resources that are available to you. And note that for a lot of these things, you could be spending a lot more time than you need to, right? You could be spending a week just on learning Linux, and you could be spending a week on learning and mastering Git and Docker and so on. So you could be spending a couple of months easily if you really take it really slow. But the idea is that we do not want to become a master at any of these things at this stage. So our way of achieving mastery is by building projects, and that's why we want to get to the project phase as quickly as possible. So this is something that is very important. Is it clear to you? I'll also explain um, how that mastery process actually looks like and where we would get to when we are building projects, right? So some of these guys are in the course, they know essentially what I'm talking about. I also push them quite a bit uh, in terms of weekly progress reviews when they spend a little more time on fundamental concepts than is needed. And essentially, the idea is that we focus heavily on projects. So is it clear to you guys, the whole project-based learning thing, which I'll cover in more detail, but roughly the idea is clear to you guys, right? Any question?
No, all clear.
Okay, yeah,
It's all clear.
thanks for the feedback, guys. Okay, so you learn Python, C++, and then we continue C++ for a week, and we also spend some time on data structures and algorithms. Again, we do not go we do not be obsessed, we do not need to be obsessed about data structures and algorithms, just enough that gives us that foundation. And you can follow this article that I have created on my blog, Data Structures and Algorithms for Robotics. There's essentially everything that you need to start learning, enough to get you that foundational understanding. And then after that, for week 8 to 9, again, this is actually in the course, this is the most comprehensive section, mathematics foundation. And even then, I have scheduled only 2 weeks for this. And the reason for this is, again, your goal is not to become a theoretical mathematician, but rather develop a strong mathematics foundation that can be applicable to programming, that can be applicable to Python and C++, which in turn is applicable to robotics projects. So this is the core idea. So you have to build mathematics foundations, and you need to learn essentially calculus, calculus, probability, statistics, numerical analysis, geometry, group theory, control theory, linear algebra, and so on. and there are a lot of resources that are available out there. So for those of you who have been following me on LinkedIn, you know that a lot of these resources have already been shared. But what we are doing here in this session is everything is coming together. And this is what the most powerful part is. Everything is coming together in the framework. And you can leverage that and really stick with the plan and make progress. So you know that it actually leads to an actual job in a robotics company, and it is not something that you just randomly follow for several months without any result. So everything that we are doing is to actually get a real robotics career in industry and not just play with some toy projects. Okay, mathematics foundation is built. Now we come to learning the robotics tools, and this is one of the most important sections. You start with uh, the following ROS2. There's a comprehensive set of ROS2 resources. This video is one of the most viewed actually, so a lot of you guys would be familiar with this. Um, Yeah, so this comprehensive set of ROS2 resources for beginners, it's a free video, 1 hour long. There's also an article associated with it, so you can go ahead and also have a look at that. Just stick with one resource, doesn't matter which. You can take up this crash course, follow it, and go to the next step, which is basically trying to get that experience by building a mini project so you know how it actually works. But the goal here is actually to gain some foundational understanding of ROS, right? And you need to learn a simulator as well. Um, and you can learn Gazebo. Nowadays, there's Isaac Sim as well. There's Mojoko as well. And so it depends really on what your domain is. I'll get to the domain part in a bit. But with simulator, you use depends on which domain you are working in. But if you're a beginner, just start with any simulator. Gazebo is the simplest to start with, and it is deeply integrated with the whole ROS infrastructure. So this is something that you can go ahead and dig into. And then you need to learn the skills that are specific to your niche. So if you're interested in machine learning as a niche, then you need to learn TensorFlow or PyTorch, right? So generally, TensorFlow is good enough to get started with. Now the whole physical AI space it involves a bit more research, and for research specific roles, PyTorch is more widely used, right? But if you're a total beginner who has never used machine learning, just start with TensorFlow. It's easy to use. And it is also something that companies still use to deploy their models um, on edge devices. And then OpenCV. OpenCV you can learn using Python and C++, which is why we first developed the foundation of Python and C++. And once you do that, you can have a good computer vision understanding, because a lot of algorithms are already implemented in OpenCV, right? And you can also go ahead and look at OpenCV's official documentation, where OpenCV documentation, where you can see actually the details of everything and also see some of the implementations and mathematics foundations behind it. So this is something that would be very useful. And in general, also, whenever in doubt, whenever you say, okay, this resource is a bit outdated or I do not trust this resource, just go to the official documentation because that is the source of truth. Okay, so week 11, learn AI for robotics, exploring other, yeah, OpenCV, TensorFlow. There's other things that you can also learn, like ROS2 control and move it to, which would be essential if you're interested in motion planning or control routes, right? So you build the foundation in the niches that you're interested in, you build the AI foundation, you learn ROS2, Gazebo, and now you're ready to start building projects. And this is in month 3 that we are already starting to build projects, right? So ideally, if you can even minimize this, the first few stages, and get to the project stage as quickly as possible, that would be even more powerful. Because as you would be building projects, you would be noticing that, hey, I actually do not have foundational background in ROS or in Python or C++, right? And then you'd say, okay, in order to implement this, I need to revisit some of the concepts and understand those more deeply. So you'd be going back and forth. So this is something that you can also do um, if you're basically learning things by yourself, right? And this is why the community thing is quite useful as well. So if you get stuck, you guys can essentially brainstorm solutions together. You can help each other debug as well. So spend some time together on that front. Okay, so you'll choose one mini project in perception, you'll choose one mini project in motion planning, you'll choose one mini project in machine learning, and one mini project in controls. And by mini project, I mean the projects that can be done within 1 week. So 1 week is the maximum that you should be spending. And the reason why we do mini projects is that it allows you enough reference experience or exposure to understand the robotics field as a whole. I mean, there are other domains as well, but essentially to get a holistic picture and a broad level of understanding of what are the core domains within robotics that exist, right? And once you do that, you would essentially start to identify your niche, right? So you do a control mini project, you do a planning mini project, you do a perception mini project and a machine learning mini project, and then you can also define projects, by the way, based on your own curiosity. And you can watch this video where I have shared bits and pieces of the process, and that could help you really define what are the projects that are interesting for you. So maybe you have a robot manipulator pick and place thing that you were always excited by, that you want to work in. Maybe you want to have build a robot that would clean your apartment, basically something like a Roomba, a mini version of that. That is something that you can um, essentially start doing. Maybe you want to build um, one of those humanoid walking robots using reinforcement learning because you saw those videos on LinkedIn or YouTube and you found that interesting. So also always prioritize your interests, right? So even when you're choosing mini projects in all these four domains, prioritize the projects that you're interested in. So choose projects based on your curiosity and interests. Otherwise you'll choose the wrong niche, right? Watch this video. Again, these are the things that you can do after the session. I have this post of 150 plus robotics projects to choose from. And these are arranged basically based on what are the basic projects, what are niche specific projects, and what are application specific projects, and involving different embodiments like manipulation, locomotion, mobile robots, humanoid, etc. So you have this list available, and now you kind of know how you would be using it. At least for mini projects, you know you'd be selecting some of the mini projects in the list and choosing the ones that appeal to you, that are interesting to you, and basically lock those, right? And once you choose it, you have to finish those within 1 week. Of course, things might happen and you say, okay, I cannot do it within 1 week. Extend it a little bit, but once you have committed, actually finish building the project. And the next one is then the next thing that I want to talk about is defining your niche, right? This is a small video where you get insights as to how you can define your niche within robotics. And now you can get a sense of how all of these things are connected. Let's take a step back to look at the whole uh, process again. So you started with cultivating your mindset and committing to the process, eliminating any limiting beliefs, defining your why clearly, having an insane level of clarity. Then you set up your system, which allows you to start programming and learning the fundamentals of programming, which in turn also allows you to learn the mathematics concepts and apply using Python and C++ and learn data structures and algorithms. Learn robotics tools, ROS, OpenCV, TensorFlow, MoveIt, ROS2 control, etc. And this is all the foundational aspect, right? And all of these build up to building these mini projects in robotics. So you build these mini projects only so that you can define your niche. The only goal of building mini projects is so that you have enough exposure to define projects, right? To define your niche and choose projects based on your niche. I mean, so once you define your niche should be locked. you should be clearly able to say, my goal is to become a machine learning engineer at a robotics company. My goal is to become a reinforcement learning engineer at a robotics company. My goal is to become a simulation engineer at a robotics company, or I want to work in core controls. I want to work in motion planning. I want to work as a computer vision engineer. This should be really clear and logged to you and logged for you. Of course, right now you won't be able to answer it, but this is why we go through this process so that you can actually answer these questions for yourself. And then you build your first niche project. Let's say you lock in computer vision or perception as your niche. You choose a project that is slightly bigger than the beginning project, a couple of weeks long, and then you commit to that process and build that, right? And maybe in another one of the future sessions, I can talk about the process of building projects. But essentially, don't worry about the process so much. Just get started with it, define the problem, start building the project. And if you get stuck, go back to the fundamentals, try to fill in gaps of knowledge, and just commit to finishing that project. And if you just stay with that mindset, you will be able to finish that project. Um, Yeah, so then after that, you come to building a slightly more advanced project of 3 weeks to 4 weeks long. Now we are getting a bit closer to what a project would actually look like at companies. And after you do that, you do a major capstone project of at least a 1 month long. And you can imagine that after you built all these projects, you would have a strong profile, you would have very strong foundational skills, but also really strong projects, a really strong portfolio of projects. And then it's a matter of really demonstrating those projects to a company and really applying rigorously to the right roles. And by this time, you know which profile you're applying for, so you're not confused. Hey, I could be applying for machine learning roles, but also computer vision, but also robotics, software engineer controls, and so on. So this is something that you should be absolutely clear about. Capstone project is done, and then comes the part of actually defining your CV, portfolio, writing a cover letter, and making your profile ready for applications to companies, right? And there's a step-by-step guide for landing a job in the robotics industry. This is again a LinkedIn post where there are further more resources for you to look at. Go ahead and look at that. And then there's also an ultimate coding interview guide, how to approach coding interviews, what are the different profiles that are there, what are the platforms that are being used, what are the topics that you need to learn, and so on. So this is a guide that you can follow once you're preparing for coding interviews. And a lot of times what happens is that you might have even very good projects, right? But there would be someone with really not very advanced projects, but they're able to really present and arrange their projects in a way that is very clear to the interviewer. And in every stage of the interview process, they're able to convey that they're able to that they would be able to do the job if they get selected for that company, right? So this is why this is also an important stage. As engineers, of course, we are more passionate about the core technical skills, but this is also important to understand how to maximize your job opportunities, right? So a lot of times there are mindset barriers that you have. You say, okay, I do not feel confident enough to apply for jobs, right? Even though you have a strong portfolio of projects. So then in that case, you have to really be honest with yourself, get feedback from a mentor or from other community members and say, okay, your profile is actually very good. You just need to present it in a better way and be confident in your ability to apply for jobs and really get that job. And there's also an interview that I shared with an actual recruiter. It's a nice interview. You can go ahead and watch this video. I think it's 1 hour long or so, which would also allow you to think from the perspective of a recruiter. What are the things that companies actually look for? What are the things that you need to optimize for, right? So this is actually the overall process. So if you actually commit to this process within 6 months, essentially by February or so next year, you should be able to get a job. It's not a big deal. I have followed this process. I've switched between different domains. I've worked in different companies, and it is really possible to make that transition, whether you are a mechanical engineer, general software engineer, electronics engineer, doesn't matter which background you're coming from. If you follow this process, you would be able to you'll be able to get a job. Now, yeah, thank you for the claps. Now, let's have a few questions regarding the process. And after that, what we would do is we would take the action step, right? And this is the most important stage of this, because this is something that you could have also already seen on LinkedIn or so, right? So the most important thing is taking action. And even for those of you who are in the course, right? So I see some of you guys here. Even for those of you who are in the course, just take it as a motivation to really um, double down on, you're already committed to the process. Really understand that taking action is the most important thing. Also write down what action you would be taking after this. But first, Q&A, quick Q&A. Any questions from anyone?
Yes, Chandan, I have a doubt. So
Yes.
at the end of 6 months, after end of 6 months, what exactly am I planning to be? Like, how can I perceive myself? Am I building real robots or something?
You're building real projects in simulation, but if you have a robotics kit, you can also build those projects in on that robotic system. But as I said, that's not mandatory. You can demonstrate that you know how to program and you know the core algorithms in your domain just by building simulation projects. So you'll have a portfolio of projects in simulation by the end of following this process, and you would have deep confidence in your skill set because you've gone through this process.
Thanks a lot. That was really helpful, and I believe that would help me a lot.
Okay, great, great, great. Any other question?
Yeah, from me. So
Mhm.
I wanted to talk more about the projects, the niche projects that you mentioned. Would you consider someone doing, for example, pose estimation using open source like NVIDIA Dope, for example? Would that be a good project to use, or do you have to necessarily like implement your own way of estimating poses?
You do not have to implement your own way. The main idea is it's not about the approach, it's about the problem that you're tackling, right? So it's a pose estimation problem, let's say for a specific scenario, bin picking or so, right? So you would go ahead, spend some time understanding the problem. You will do your literature review. You do your literature review, you'll understand what are the different approaches and tools available, some approaches from NVIDIA, some open source packages, repositories that are available. And your only goal is to solve that particular problem. So this is the number one thing. So you go ahead, look at all these things, you identify what are the things that would be useful for you and discard the things that are not useful for you. And based on this deep literature review, your goal is to come up with a project pipeline that uses the kind of tools that would help you solve that problem, taking the constraints of the problem into account. And essentially, once you do that, you would be able to select the tools that are the most important to you, and you do not have to commit to the tools. You have to commit to the problem. So engineers are problem solvers at heart, and what we tend to do is, hey, also this is also a common thing. I know Ross, now I can apply to robotics software engineering roles, right? No, that's just one small aspect of it. Um, you want to build your problem solving ability, you want to build projects, and that is essentially the kind of thing that you would also do at companies. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, actually, I have one more question. Thank you so
Mhm.
much. So this one is regarding DSA. So personally, I feel I'm at that stage that I'm doing niche projects, but what I lack is, you know, cracking those competitive coding interviews. I've not really faced any of those yet, but there's not so much talking about this right now. So I wanted to ask you if how difficult it is actually at the interview stage.
Yeah, so there are essentially three kinds of technical interviews. One technical interview is where you would be talking only about your projects, right? So this is something that would be the easiest if you have built really good projects because you're essentially sharing what you have done, right? The other one is these LeetCode style challenges, which require uh, dedicated effort to practicing these kinds of problems. So you'd spend some time on HackerRank, LeetCode, Codility, etc., right? And you would be given a problem, and you would have to solve that problem within a specific time duration. So it could be like 45 minutes, 1 hour, and so on, right? So this is something that requires dedicated effort, but this is not most companies in robotics. These are actually a minority of companies, especially in Europe. So I can share more from the European marketplace, but also in general, also in the US and other countries. We see that this is not always the case. If unless you're applying for these Mang companies, right? So Meta, Amazon, Nvidia, and so on, right? So these top-notch Google, these top-notch companies, if you're applying for that, their process is of course very strict, and they really expect you to understand and solve these lead code style problems very deeply. But this is not always the case, right? Which is why we spend just enough time that is needed that would allow you to get the exposure to most robotics companies, and most robotics companies wouldn't ask you for that. The other type of interview that is the most common is essentially also this coding challenge, but you share your screen, and essentially you solve the problem, and you would be essentially walking the interviewer through the problem, and you will be sharing your thought process essentially along the way. So this is something that is the most common, and these kind of coding interviews are also not that advanced as compared to lead code style problems, because you would be coding, but they give you an intermediate level problem at best, and they want to see how you solve the problem, right? So this is an important thing. And another type of interview process is the coding interview round is they give you a take-home assignment. So this is something that I also like, because this is something that is a real good estimator of the actual work, because you would be thinking about the whole problem and not just solving a toy coding problem. So this is also something that is quite common. And um, and yeah, mainly these are the coding rounds that you need to focus on. You need to spend time on practicing the coding challenges as well, because companies ask for that. But don't go overboard with it unless your goal is that, hey, Google or nothing, right? So then you probably do need to go to spend a lot more extra effort. But if you have good robotics projects, if you have a strong foundation, and if you can convey your projects well, if you have a good programming foundation and you're able to walk the interviewer through your process of solving a toy programming problem, that's very good.
Great, great. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Any other question?
I have a question.
Yes,
Can you
please.
hear me?
Yes. I can hear you.
Apologies because I'm a bit sick, so my voice is yeah, I have sore throat.
No worries,
Uh,
that's fine.
no, I would. My question is, don't you think that when it comes to CV screening, companies would rather prefer somebody who has an educational background in robotics compared to a self-taught
Mhm.
candidate, and also that the what is the what are the consequences of AI on this profession,
Mhm.
especially the coding aspect uh, involved in this in robotics engineering roles?
Yeah, very good questions. Yeah. So I mean, to be honest with you, of course, if you have a master's degree next to your name, this is something that gives you credibility, right? But the fact is that even in a master's program, what happens is that you do not learn the skills, right? So companies a lot of times they do the mistake of hiring someone who has a master's but does not have enough robotics projects, and you do not learn even Python and C++ in a lot of university programs, which is a bit strange because that is something that the university should be teaching you. But the universities target teaching you theoretical concepts because they're designed by the researchers. There's a research institute that is always responsible for a particular program. So it is very research driven, and their goal is to essentially get some of the students from the master's program to pursue their PhD. The top-notch people from the course, they want them to pursue their PhD, and it's not essentially their main job to prepare you for the job market, right? And for me as well, I did a master's in robotics, and what I noticed was that even in the interviews, even in the early stages, nobody asked for my grades, right? For sure, having a master's in at RWTH Aachen in Germany in robotics, it did play a role, right? Companies would see that, okay, that's a credibility factor. But I had more real projects at companies, and in the interviews, the interviewers only asked and dug deep into projects, and they wanted to see how I solve those problems, right? So this was essentially the most important thing, and this is indeed the most important thing for most recruiters actually as well. And again, if you are in a master's program, that does add value, but if you say, okay, I'm in any case, even if I'm enrolled in a master's program, I have to spend that additional effort learning ROS, learning Python, C++, building projects, and doing those things anyway, then why don't you just focus on the things that are the most important, right? Because consider this CV, which does not have any master's degree, right? Maybe you have a bachelor's in an engineering domain or another domain, and but in your project experience, maybe you have an internship at a robotics company or a part-time role at a robotics company, or even not that, if you have really strong projects that you built by yourself, right? If you have really strong portfolio of projects, you also link your little portfolio website in the CV. The company would say, okay, this guy just has a bachelor's in, I don't know, in data science or something. But if I look at his projects, these are really powerful projects, and these are exactly the kind of projects that we do at our company, right? So you can imagine this from a recruiter's perspective, that they are essentially looking to hire someone who can do the job. That's it. Essentially, a company is a business, and they want to fill in these roles, and these roles are responsible for different aspects of the project. And you say, okay, this person has 5 different machine learning projects which are very similar to the kind of projects that we are doing. This guy is deeply skilled. They would screen you anyway. They would give you a coding interview. They would ask you tough questions. And if you clear that, there's no reason why not having a master's tag on your CV could hinder you. And coming to the next question now, AI, yes, this is a very important question that you asked. Is sure, AI tools are being used in the companies for programming, right? Companies use it, but still, what happens is that in the interview process, they still ask you they still give you a coding interview that generally does not require AI tools. This is changing a bit now. What a few companies have started to do, this is still early, is that they would give you an interface where you would program, but they would that would also have an LLM or a chat GPT like interface available to you, and you have to essentially demonstrate how you would be solving that problem using the AI tools, right? So it's also a skill to learn how to use the AI tools to build that particular project or solve that particular problem, and not just vibe code it, right? Because if you're vibe coding it, then anybody can do it without a degree, without anything. You just have to type and just make it work, and it doesn't work like that. That is why if you have a strong robotics foundation, you'd be able to prompt the AI tool in the right way, such that you also understand, and if it makes a mistake, you'll be able to debug that problem as well. So the core robotics programming skills are still very valuable, and I see that also at the company the company that I'm working right now. Does it make sense?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
great,
thank
great,
you.
great.
And
Uh,
also
mhm.
last question,
Yeah,
maybe.
sure.
Don't you think it is the market is satur
Saturated, the market is saturated.
saturated?
Where are you located right now?
I'm based in the Netherlands.
Okay.
Uh, but my background is a bit peculiar in the sense that I am I specialize in human robot interaction. This is my specialization.
So you're doing your research at an institute, right?
Yes, I am. I had started with a PhD originally. I did 1 year in Australia, and then
Hmm.
I thought it was too abstract, so I transitioned into a Dutch program that exists only, I think, in the Netherlands and the UK. That's
Hmm.
called engineering doctorate. It's a bit more applied. So you are in an
Okay.
in academia, but you collaborate with industry.
So more
So
applied research. Okay.
yes.
So you're in the Netherlands, right? So in Europe. So is the market saturated, right? So I mean, this is something that I get as well. And in my view, and this is my view, is I think this is like a limiting belief, right? So sure, there are phases in the economy where you say, okay, there are not enough jobs right now, right? And a part of this could be true. Okay, a lot of companies are not hiring, but there are always new companies. And in robotics right now, I mean, I don't think this is a belief that any one of you should be having right now in robotics. And the reason for this is because there are a lot of new startups that are popping up like at a crazy rate right now. Even in Germany, in Netherlands, I'm sure as well. In the US, the story. There's so many robotic startups. Um, the investors, VCs are funding new robotic startups like crazy. There are a lot of robotic startups, and even researchers are getting hired quite a lot. So a lot of companies are building foundation models. They're working on world models, vision, language, action models, and things like that, which also requires, by the way, core control engineers, core motion planning engineers, core robotic skills, and so on. So this is one misconception as well, is that now physical AI is there, the old school robotic skills are gone. No, they are needed even more, because a shitty robot does not work well with a foundation model, right? You have to have the foundational setup of a robot really clear. You have to have the right controllers and so on. And that requires the core robotics engineers as well. So in short, this is even if you say that the economy is slowing down, first of all, for robotics, this is not the case at all. As I mentioned, look at the kind of robotics startups that are being funded, right? And I think this comes from the fact that you do not have exposure, you do not see these companies, you do not see the new companies that are popping up, right? So what happens is, um, a lot of recruiters reach out to people who have experience in companies. So recruiters are trying to fill those positions, and it's hard to fill those positions, right? Because they need someone who has really strong skill set. If imagine you're making a startup, right? It's two or three of your friends who are creating a startup, and you want to hire a really strong research engineer or a robotics software developer at your company, right? You would be looking for someone who has really strong skill sets, and it would be hard for you to fill that role, because what happens is, uh, a lot of beginners apply who do not have enough foundation, and so they have the companies have the opposite problem, is that yeah, they cannot fill that role, right? But you come in as a self-taught engineer, you say, I have built really strong robotics projects by myself, and I know these are the kind of projects that a startup or even a bigger company would value. You apply, you do an unsolicited application, by the way. Even if there are no openings, you do an unsolicited application. This is what I used to do. This is what I actually did to the company, in the company where I got my master's thesis. There was no opening. Was a small startup of, I think, 20 people or so. I just did an unsolicited application. I sent my stuff. I created a portfolio of my projects and I sent them, and they were super impressed with my profile. And I was able to get my thesis plus working student role at that company. And there was no profile that was advertised, right? So sometimes you have to get out of your own way and ignore what the media says. Yeah, there are not enough jobs. There's always enough jobs for people who are skilled enough. This is the mindset to have. There's always enough jobs if you're skilled enough. You make your own jobs. Like companies would make up job profiles for you. Startups would make up a job profile for you because they're more flexible and so on. So yeah. Any comments, any questions on that? This is something that I want you guys to deeply understand, because uh, this is not something that should hold you back. And if you want to test whether the market is saturated or not, apply to 100 companies. Apply to 100 companies, and you'll see that you'll start, getting um, interviews from a lot of companies. And you'll see that this is even if that's the case, there are enough opportunities for you to get a job. And at the end of the day, you need one job, right? You can't be doing two job unless you want to, at least one job. So
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
okay, great. Yeah, very good questions.
And I have a question.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and as you said, as you told us, the core requirements are necessary for every robotics engineer. But for example, if I follow all the pattern and I want to specialize on the RL part or the reinforcement learning part,
Mm-hmm.
because some parts of the field are shifting to RL because the control
Yeah.
theory limits. How do this fix, or if there will be in a future uh, a more specific reinforcement learning part for BLAs or something,
Mm-hmm.
and how we can uh, test the sim to real gap also.
Mm-hmm.
And another final question is, there is also the DevOps part that is very requested also
Mm-hmm.
for the robotics engineer. Who do you plan to expand a little more the core concepts to the RL part? If I'm interested in in the machine learning part, because RL
Mm-hmm.
is different,
Yeah.
and practically how to fix it with DevOps.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, interesting, Rangal. Yeah. So I'll go back to the roadmap. So what we do is, this is why this roadmap is so powerful, because it applies to any new thing that comes up. So you say VLAs. Next, in the future, there will be world models. There would be other things that would be used in the robotics companies, and this entire roadmap would be applicable to that as well. Now I'll show you how. So all these things would remain more or less the same, right? So even for deep reinforcement learning, you would be using PyTorch, by the way, right? So in the robotics foundation section, you already get some basic understanding of machine learning, right? You probably do not know reinforcement learning at this stage, but you know what machine learning is, right? Reinforcement learning is a subcategory of machine learning. So you get that understanding, and then you explore these domains through mini projects. And in machine learning, you say, okay, and these projects you define based on your interests, right? So even in mini projects, you say in machine learning domain, I would choose a reinforcement learning project for legged locomotion or whatever you're interested in, but a very mini project so that you actually use the kind of tools that are used for such an RL project, right? Um, you do that, and then you get that exposure. You ask yourself the tough questions again when you're defining your niche. When you're defining your niche, and then you say, okay, RL is my niche. I want to become a reinforcement learning engineer, and I want to work for biped and this locomotion setups, right? So you go ahead and you select a two-star project that involves reinforcement learning. Go ahead and build an Isaac Lab-based reinforcement learning pipeline for locomotion. You can spawn a unitary robot, and you can build that project. You can use an RL algorithm such as soft actor critic or PPO, and you can make that project really good, and you can expand on that and build another slightly bigger project, a continuation of that. Maybe you want to do multi-agent reinforcement learning, right? Um, and then another one, and then what you do is that you have a stack of reinforcement learning projects, and then you apply for jobs. You say, hey, I am a reinforcement learning expert. So by the way, this thing is also, it's not really by the end of this roadmap, if you do these projects, it is designed to make you an expert, right? It depends on how you define an expert. According to some companies, it's like if you have 10 plus years of experience. But if you do these within 6 months, you would be an expert in your particular domain, right? Imagine building three uh, top-notch projects in your specific niche. You would be um, expert. You would be experienced enough to get your first role at the very least, right? But you can also still go for much better roles. And likewise applies to vision language action models. So you say, I want to do a project using Groot, using Pi0. Just use the open source libraries that are available. Buy a little robotics kit if you want to, and deploy that VLA to a robotic system. That would be applicable as well. And the next thing I think was DevOps, right? Where does DevOps come into picture? This would be part of the software development foundation, right? So I have not touched upon this in this roadmap, and I have not given you that. And there's a reason for that, is because it would take you maybe a week longer, right? And we want to avoid spending additional time on learning DevOps skills. This is something that you can really develop as you're building the projects, right? So you say, okay, I want to learn the best ML ops practices, right? And if you say, I want to spend all this time, a couple of weeks learning this, and then after that you start doing machine learning projects, you say, nah, this is not my thing, right? Then all this effort is kind of wasted, right? Whereas Python, C++, and all the basic things that we learn, ROS, etc., will be used in any case, right? So once you define your niche, you start building projects. You can define your projects that involve an end-to-end deployment, and that involves using CI/CD pipelines. Involves a lot of Dockers. Dockers, by the way, we also spend some time learning. So Docker is something that you have foundation of, and you can learn this. You can learn ML flow if you want to build such a project that uses those ML ops practices and so on. I think these were the questions, right? Did I answer your question, Rangal?
Yeah, sure. The only thing was I missing in your answers about the sim to real gap, because this
Sim
is
to real gap.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you expand on that?
Okay, when you do curriculum learning or imitation learning in any kind of RL,
So
when
for
you test
RL
anything,
specific projects, right? So
yeah,
yeah,
when you test anything in Muyoko
yeah.
or in any simulation software,
Hmm.
it could behave correctly, but when you go to the real part, when you pass into real,
Yeah.
probably you have to adjust something because the simulation has not all
Yeah.
the parameters that the real.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I mean, you do domain randomization. To do that, you basically train in variations of the environment so that the reinforcement learning agent, learns to generalize enough to variations in the environment. And then when you deploy that pipeline, the policy trained in simulation to an actual robot, it is likely to perform better. But this is also a domain in itself, right? The sim to real transfer. This is something that companies are now actually heavily working on. So domain randomization and other techniques are essentially the things that you would be working on. And if you want to demonstrate that, of course, then you need like a real system. So you say, okay, I not only trained this policy in simulation, but I also deployed it. Um, Now, this is something that you can do if you want to get a robotics kit, but if you say I cannot afford to do that, or it's not really within my budget right now, you just train a policy in simulation, and you gain a deep level of understanding of how the things, and you study and learn those sim to RL techniques, and you keep your policy trained in a way using domain randomization and everything that you know that this would transfer, and then you can say, hey, I did not have a robot, so I did not get the chance to actually test that policy on a real system. But if I did, these would be my next steps, right? So I trained the policy taking into account that this should transfer to the real system. And if you get an exposure to a robot at an actual company, whether it's part of an internship role or a full-time role, then you will be able to show that and add it to your CV as well.
Okay. Actually, it can be any kind of robot for maybe a differential drive with cameras is enough for this
It could be a
situation.
simple robot as well, right? So ideally, if you can get your hands on that, yeah, that's good enough to demonstrate that. Yeah.
Chandan, sorry for interfering, but there are few questions in the webinar too, the webinar room.
Oh, okay.
Sarkar has
hmm
in
in
the
the
webinar
web,
room, the
okay.
open the yes, and in the corner, the top right corner, there is a chat bubble. Yes, yes,
Ah,
yes.
okay. I see. Uh,
There are two
I did not
questions.
know this that there's a chat. I see. Okay, 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 okay. I think Discord has changed a bit. Generally, there wasn't a chat, and for chat, I had to use chat room. So, okay, interesting, interesting. So, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of thumbs up and everything that I see. Can you explain the difference between different cohort plans? Yeah, so you're asking about the course. I'll get to that as well. I'll give you first some action steps, and then I can share more details about that. So great insights on software development in robotics. As software side can be learned from for free. How can I manage hardware in minimum cost? What is the roadmap for the hardware for hardware in robotics? Because of components like FPGA, Raspberry Pi, or other components are really expensive, and as a student, we cannot manage such costly learning. So, I mean, I can see already that you would use this as an excuse to not start learning. Forget about hardware for now and just make progress. And once you have that momentum, so the main thing is you have to get the momentum kicking, right? Forget about hardware. Just start building a project. Once you have done a couple of projects and once you know your niche very well, you say that now I really want to uh, build some hardware related projects, then buy a Raspberry Pi, right? And deploy your models on a system, buy a little robotics kit, right? There's also this resource that you might have seen, essentially on this blog article. So projects, open source robotics projects, right? Open source. There's like a resource, you can find it here. Supposed to be somewhere. A comprehensive list of 60 plus open source robots for learning robotics. So there's a lot of stuff out there, and this is not even updated. This is a little bit old, but it still has a lot of robots, and there is a lot more, right? There's this Ricci Mini that you can buy from Poland Robotics. Just search for things from Hugging Face, the Lay robot, SO100 arms, and so on, right? So you can say, okay, this is out of my reach. So you can save money, right? This should actually motivate you. You can save money that, hey, eventually I can really afford to buy that kit. There are also cheaper kits, by the way. It doesn't even have to be this one. SO101, I think this is even cheaper. You can even assemble it, by the way. If you can get your hands on 3D printer, there are a lot of these available. And in this list, you'll see essentially list of open source as a PDF. Yeah, in this list, you'll see that there's actually a lot of kits available, and I've linked also GitHub repositories to these open source projects, right? So just start using something, right? These are all open. This is, of course, this would probably require some uh, budget to build this one, but there are basically open source projects in all ranges. There's also this Pitoy Bittle, so you can find things really also. Generally, it's at least 100 to 200 euros, the minimal one, but you can find things also cheaper if you want to build things using your own 3D printer and so on. But don't think so much, guys. Don't think so much. Think once you are actually in the zone, once you're building momentum, you're excited, you're building lots and lots of projects, you're learning things. Then you say, okay, what is the next stage? The next stage for me is to buy a robotics kit, right? And that is something that you can do. By the way, another thing is like if you create content online, a lot of companies would give you robotic arms for free. So Elephant Robotics, of course, you need to have like base on LinkedIn or some platforms where you regularly post content and so on. But they would essentially give you that to make a review video, and then you can use it for your own projects. This is also something you could do. But that, of course, requires like additional commitment of posting your stuff on a social networking site and so on. You may not want to do that, which is fine. Okay, all right. Let's take one last question. I think it's getting quite late, and after that, we'll get to the activity.
Can I ask one short question?
Yes, Mayor.
So again, regarding the people who can't afford hardware, do you think these projects that you would otherwise require hardware for, like a navigation project or a computer vision project
Mm-hmm.
or a manipulation project, do you think you can replace hardware by just using simulators like Isaac Sim and other simulators like that,
Yeah,
and it would
exactly.
be reasonably close to the real hardware?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's always sim to real gap, as we also mentioned. There's always difference between the robot environment in simulation and in the real robot environment. But if you cannot afford to buy a robotics kit, that should never be a stopping point for you, right? You can build projects in any simulator. In fact, for Isaac Sim, you might argue that it's a bit of a heavy simulator, right? So maybe your laptop does not have a strong enough GPU to support that. Use Mojoko. It's super powerful. It has very good contact dynamics. Use Gazebo. Use other simulators. But you can build these projects, and this would be good enough, really, to get you that exposure, to allow you to learn everything that there is that you would learn when you're building the project on the robot. Of course, when you're dealing with a real robot, there's also the annoying aspects of dealing with the hardware. Some things break, you have to debug a lot of things, and there are more layers to that, right? So that experience is always useful as well. uh, but again, my only thing is that that should not really hold you back at all.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, great. Now I think I'd like to move on to the next stage, which is taking the first step, guys. Are you ready for this? So this is the point of making a commitment. Now let's get back to what you guys actually said in the beginning. I'll not bookmark this page and forget it. I'll actually follow this plan. I'll actually share this page with you guys now. So it's totally available to you. Nothing should be holding you back now. So this is the page. Look at the resources, but also now um, type in the Discord chat room that I make a commitment, that I commit to the process of learning robotics, that I commit to starting my robotics learning journey. Just make this commitment so that the other people in the community know and hold you accountable, right? So this is the thing. Um, I want you guys to not just attend this and forget it, but rather get value out of this, right? So if you make a commitment to the process and connect with other people in the server and keep this active, this is up to you guys. Just reach out to people personally in the Discord server, hop onto calls and so on. You would be able to make that progress, right? And if you need support, you have a support system. So Swastik commits. I'm waiting for others to also commit. Martin agrees with him. He's committing to the process, but I would actually appreciate if you actually write, I commit to the process of learning
Actually,
robotics.
sorry
Yeah,
for interrupting. For some reason, I'm not able to type. Is there a way we can have like a chat channel
there's
somewhere else?
also a chat room. Actually, I was also not aware of this chat. One of you guys actually mentioned it. So if you click on this open chat button, this would pop up this thing. Uh,
Exactly. Thing
yeah,
is,
this show chat.
I can't type over there is the issue. It takes me to introduction.
You cannot
It
type
it
over here.
And you can
Okay,
just type in the chat
you can
room
type
in
in the
the
chat room.
like just above the webinar room. Yes.
Yeah, you can type
It's
in
okay.
it's
the
because
Understood.
we
chat room
don't
as
have
well.
permission to send messages in that channel.
Yeah, exactly.
Which channel? The chat room. You guys don't have permission to.
Webinar room.
So webinar
In
room,
our,
chat
yeah,
room.
okay, okay, okay. Sure. I mean, that makes sense because I think this is, as I see, a new feature.
Also, I don't see hash chat room. So I've been typing in introductions, and I also did a
Okay.
screen grab showing that I can't type in the webinar room.
I think some of you guys might have this issue because you have to do your introduction and click on the pinned post to unlock this actually. So this is a, you jump to the pinned post, and if you like this, there's a bot there actually. If you like this button, you'll unlock all the channels. There's a lot of channels here actually on this Discord server. I know this is
Oh,
not
okay.
quite user friendly, but this is how it was. Yeah, so you go to introductions, type your intro, and I think this was also because I wanted to make sure there's no spam and stuff like that, although there's still spam though. So once you click on the green check mark, then you'd be able to see more of the channels. Regarding the permissions to chat, I would have to look at that, but type in the chat room for now. I think that I'll look at later. Okay, so you guys are hopefully committed to the process. Uh, find accountability partners after this session. You know, interact. You see the names of the people here. uh, just talk to the people who I mentioned that I commit to the process, right? So you know that these guys are on the same, want to be on the same journey as you guys. Make a private group here. Do Google Meet, whatever you want. Just commit to the process, right? Another thing that you could do is if you want to take it to the next level, you don't have to do it. Is you announce on LinkedIn that, hey, I have taken the first step to starting my robotics learning journey. And you, what you could do if you, and actually this is one of the guys, I don't know if he is in this Discord server, no. So it was like back when the meetups were very regular. So this guy, what he started to do was quite cool. He started to post his weekly progress when he was building projects, building robotics projects. So he was doing like a interdisciplinary kind of a project. He built the whole robotic mechanical system with electronics and software. And he just started doing it. He was really passionate about it, and he started posting these on a weekly basis on LinkedIn. So this is really powerful because sure, his projects did not make progress and he got stuck, but he was honestly sharing that, hey, I made this progress, these were the bottlenecks. The coolest thing is there are other professionals on LinkedIn, so others could point you. So you get free mentorship, right? So other people could point you, hey, try out this thing, how about using this library, you know. You could use this process to debug and so on. And other HR people are also there. So companies see that your journey, that this guy actually built the project and he's not fooling us. So you could really leverage that social media. Yeah, of course you have to be a bit get a bit out of your comfort zone to do that. But if you can do that, I mean, dude, you guys would get a lot of opportunities. So in any case, regardless of what method you do, even if you just use the Discord, just make a commitment, take the first step. You don't need to know all the steps, by the way. Even though you know right now, you might not know which domain you want to take. You might not know which libraries you would want to choose, which profiles you're interested in, what your niche is, how to create your portfolio, which country you want to apply for jobs in. but you would get more clarity as you make progress. So this entire process is designed to give you more clarity as you make progress throughout the whole journey, right? So this is the whole thing. And now I can introduce you to also the LearnArena platform, which is where the course is hosted, essentially. So I'll keep it very brief. I don't want it to be like a marketing event where I promote this platform, but you guys can actually, wait a minute. Okay, that is a bit strange. Oh, okay, there seems to be like a technical issue. Uh, Let me see what is happening here. It's always when when you want to share things. This issue has never happened before. But anyway, this is the LearnArena platform. Actually, what I could do is also I could share, yeah, because I just want to show you what, or I think this is enough, right? These are the sections that we see. So you have the welcome section, and this is, by the way, already available to anyone. So I made it open. So anyone, if you are not in the plans or something, you can go ahead and check the welcome section, and really there's videos and concept libraries and so on that you can have a look at. And this is acceptable to use. So you can sign up and really do it. I'll see why I'm not able to sign in on this platform. Maybe let me try one last time on incognito. So this is actually a project-based. Okay, sign up is not working. So this is fine. There is a welcome section. There's this mindset cultivation section, right? So you got a glimpse of what this is. You identify your why, and there's activities and stuff associated with it. And then actually, you guys can have a look at it on this. This is the video. You guys can have a look at it. It's about what the platform actually contains. You have the welcome section, you have the mindset cultivation, this, and what the platform looks like, what the quizzes look like, and so on. So this is something for you to see. But once I fix this bug, there's a bug here which prevents me from signing in. Once I fix this, you would be able to sign up already and see the welcome section essentially. So yeah, so this is the whole project-based learning platform where you see the whole roadmap, you track all your progress, you build projects, and there's a whole learning by building a framework that is available to you. And this is the thing that I was pointing. The welcome section is openly available. There's activities and everything that is available to you. Now I would like to wind off with people who are actually interested in enrolling to the September cohort. So as you know, I take 10 students for every cohort. So for those of you who are interested in this cohort, maybe you can DM me personally. You don't need to write in the chat room. You can DM me personally on Discord, or you can send an email on learnroboticsandai.com, and I can give you more insights and answer your questions. So learnroboticsandai@gmail.com. Ideally, send me an email, but also if you send a message on Discord, um, yeah, I can help you answer your questions. There is a curriculum as well. This is the whole curriculum which follows the exact same roadmap, but it has original technical content with quizzes, self-assessment tests, a whole personalized way of tracking your progress and defining your path. The whole community aspect, we have a whole community available there as well, and there are some people also who are there right now who are part of the course, so they know what I'm talking about. So and there are these projects that are available to you. So a lot of projects to choose from: perception, motion planning, machine learning, controls, some real world projects, and you can build your own projects as well. Okay, so that is it. Just DM me if you guys are actually interested in enrolling for the September cohort. Um, and if you have any other questions related to the program. And with this, I'd like to wind off, and I hope that you guys stay committed to the process and actually start building
Excuse me,
projects.
Chandan.
Yes,
I
Swastik.
had it was a brilliant webinar, and I really appreciate the efforts because mostly over social media there is AI slop about the same thing, but you explained it, and it was really helpful that you have put in all the efforts. And I have just two recommendations,
Mm-hmm.
which I hope you will be bringing in very soon. You please describe the next seminar, or whenever you feel that you can bring about that robotics, hardware engineering or mechanical engineering, because I would be looking forward to it. And also,
Mm-hmm.
you had a very appreciable journey, which I would also like to follow about your robotics endeavors in Germany. So
Mm-hmm.
also share how you did back then without all the resources when we did not have any kind of AI or anything, which is very inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
So, in present scenario, how can I follow in Germany or any kind of research institutes for robotics?
Okay.
These two
Yeah,
recommendations.
sure. Yeah, thanks a lot for your kind words, first of all. Yeah, I'll definitely keep these recommendations into account, and we can have one of the sessions where I share more journey in detail and touch the topics that you mentioned and so on. So yeah, thanks for sharing. Okay, guys, I
Thank you,
have
thank
to
you.
leave now, so I would be now stopping the session. Just try to be active in the community and try to be in touch with it. If you want to take the next step and want to enroll in the Become a Robotic Software Engineer program, just send me a DM on Discord or on learnroboticsnai@gmail.com. And see you next time, hopefully. Hopefully, in end of next month, we'll try to do another one. So, see you guys. Take care. Bye.
Bye, Chandan.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.